The MCU post-Endgame. A lot has been said about it, and yes, it is not as consistent in quality as the Infinity Saga. There's no denying that. But is it as bad as a lot of the naysayers are claiming? In my opinion, absolutely not. In fact, post Endgame gave us some of the best MCU outings ever. Loki Season 2 fit that bill. This is the review of Champions, and I'm your host, Grandmaster. With me is a powerful panel made up of the finest champions Sakar has to offer. Let me introduce them to you. We have two people, voice only, back again. Mr. Lord Deathman, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well, thanks.
That's good to hear. And we have Loki's mom. Of course, she's here for the Loki finale.
Absolutely. Yes, and I'm heartbroken.
Well, we'll discuss that in a minute. We have Mr. Taylor first as well. How are you?
I'm great.
And last but certainly not least, we have Merv. How are you, man? Today we're going to talk about the season finale called Glorious Purpose of Season 2 of Loki. But before we do, I want to ask you all to help us out. Like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you really can't get enough of it, join our ranks. Go to sakar.freeforums.net, set up an account, get to know us, and yes, you can join us in our shows. Consider this your final warning. After this point, the spoilers are incoming. So if you haven't seen this week's episode yet, please do that first and then check out our review. How to summarize this one. Loki is trying to save this TVA and all the timelines. And, well, how he goes about that, we're going to discuss now. And, well, let's start with you, Mr. Lord Deathman. I think you're on my team when I say Loki Season 2 is one of the best things Marvel Studios has ever done. Am I right?
You are absolutely right. In fact, I have a 3-word short review. It was perfect. I now yield my time to the next champion.
Well, we can conclude our complete review right now, but let the others talk about it as well. Lokismom, you were heartbroken, but did you like the finale?
I absolutely did. I loved it. It was just beautifully done. There were, I think, issues. I have some issues with the whole series. I think there were some odds and ends they kind of didn't tie up for Loki, to my satisfaction. One being, who is his mother? Yeah, I'm not his real mother, gang. I would think I am.
What?
I'm his adopted mother.
Oh. We have a whole panel here now in total shock.
Yes. But yeah, just stuff like that. And but as far as the execution, I thought it's just wonderful. Yeah, I have again a couple of issues we'll get into a little bit later, but as far as just talking about the episode itself, yeah, it really was probably the best ending that they could have done.
Mm-hmm. Taylor?
It was a great show, and the ending was fantastic. Comic booky times 10. Epic. Funny. Again, it was just fantastic way to end the series.
Well, Loki came full circle, Merv. At least Tom Hiddleston said that on a late night show earlier this week. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, thoroughly. Very, very much enjoyed this entire episode, and really the second season. I hesitate to say it was perfect, but it was as close to perfect as this show could hope to be, I think.
Yeah. Well, Taylor, we're going to take a deeper dive now, and I'm going to start with a mean thing. We got one of the worst things Marvel Studios has ever done, and it wasn't Disney Plus. It was the previous live-action show. It was Secret Invasion. At least that was the consensus on the panel. I know you may think differently. And now we get one of the best shows. Is that because they took a little bit more time, or is this show had just better production value, or writers, or what do you think?
There was definitely more effort and more talent put into this show than in that other show. Which just goes to show that the biggest issue that they're having over there is oversight of all these projects. When we have such a wide range of quality, and Secret Invasion was not good at all, really. But that's a relative term compared to some of the stuff DC puts out. Secret Invasion was actually pretty good. But as part of the MCU, it was an embarrassment, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, showrunners, writers, effects, storytelling, effort by the cast, apparent effort, and I don't know if that's the part of the director or the fault of the actor. You can never tell, but you could just see it between those two shows, how much effort was going in.
Yeah. Okay. Loki season 2. I'm on the Perfect 10 team, but are you, or do you have some complaints about the finale in particular, or the show as a whole?
Not enough pie. I think there could have been more scenes of pie being eaten.
Yeah. Okay. I agree.
No, it was fantastic. Now, this was, for some people, high level science fiction, which is great, spectacular. I didn't understand half of what was going on in this final episode. He turned into a tree. I guess he's the loom now. Whatever. It doesn't matter, because I got the theme, I got the feel, I got the emotion from it. I got the character arc of Loki, and it worked just fine for me that way. I don't have to understand all of the astrophysics behind it. So yeah, I really don't have any actual complaints. I'm not 100% sure, what happens now going forward, which of course we're not supposed to be 100% sure, but I'm not sure what the TVA is doing exactly. I know they're trying to keep tabs on Kang variants to try to prevent problems with him in the future from the various timelines that are out there now. And I guess timelines and universes is sort of an interchangeable term here at this point. Again, we'll find out more as the multiverse saga continues. But other than that, I'm not sure what they're doing. Other than maybe there's still going to be some branches that could be harmful that have to be pruned. Maybe there can be still could be too many branches. I don't know how many Loki can handle from his rock chair that he's sitting in. So I guess they're still keeping busy there. Don't know what Mobius is going to do in the future either, of course. I think he's going to take a break, but I'm sure he's going to go back, because he is a variant of Mobius. The real Mobius is still in his corner of the sacred timeline, raising his kids like he's supposed to. So I'm sure that variant will go back and continue to pitch in at the TVA. But overall, like I said, right now I'm just saying about all the great stuff. There's nothing. The part with He Who Remains, bringing it full circle back to the end of the first season and what happened there, and that it was all kind of his plan for this to happen, and he thought he had it planned out in such a way that it could not be stopped. But Loki found a way by making that that hero's sacrifice. And of course, this is a variant of Loki. We've met lots of variants of Loki. I don't think Alligator Loki would have done the same thing that this Loki did, but this variant of Loki achieved his great purpose. The other one never got a chance because he got killed by Thanos. So it is good to see that at least this Loki achieved his purpose in in the cosmos, and it did a lot of good. So I'm not trying to think of something bad to say about it, and I can't.
Okay. Lokismom, you had some issues, I heard. So let's give Haggard. What are your issues?
Well, well, yeah, the one I didn't mention, which is kind of a silly one, but yeah, I thought Sylvie, the character Sylvie in season 2, was not handled as well. I think almost all of her scenes, she was shrill. She was, she didn't want to help. She only wound up helping because she really felt like she had a choice to save her own skin. But she didn't care. She was done. Whatever. So and particularly at the end where she just, well, it's odd, Loki's not here. Well, see ya, and she's wherever, she's gone back to McDonald's. So yeah, I thought that was kind of, and maybe down the road, who knows? We don't know what they're going to do with a third season. I don't think Tom Tiddleston will be in it, absolutely not. But I do think the potential for another season or a new series called the TVA or something like that. It wouldn't have to be a third season. Um, uh, just stuff like that. And I mean, and they did leave a lot of little strings out there, like Renslayer. She's in that void, and she hears Eliath off in the distance, and then we see the some foliage blow back, and there's a corner of a spaceship. Well, if they're going to do stuff like that, don't do stuff like that. Those kind of teases if they don't mean it. So it's just little things like that that kind of irked me. Um, I did think that there was a big joke of the three. How long is it going to take to do learn everything I need to know to build? And OB says, well, 3 centuries. And Tom Hiddleston mugs, and then it flash 3 centuries later. Well, okay, come on. Let's get a little taste of what those 3 centuries were. I mean, just to see what he went through. I think it was kind of ridiculous to Loki it wouldn't take 3 centuries for Loki to learn what he needs, because he was able to interface with computers and whatnot uh, in the Avengers and what. So yeah, I mean that just kind of fell flat, and it was kind of like a one big thumbprint that's in this particular episode. But other than that, like I said, it was very beautiful. And just I'll kind of explain a little bit what that whole tree thing is. When Loki's going down and he's being transformed, he's morphing into his Loki guys again, but it's not that uniform, and he doesn't have on his boots. He's got on almost like penitence robes, and he's got on slippers, and his crown reappears, but it's made out of that dead star that was made, that He Who Remains castle was made of. So yeah, you can see. But then as he says, he grabs all these things, and he pulls them together, and then the camera then flips so that we see that it's the world tree, and I think it's called, is it Yggdrasil? Drizzle? I can't say it right, but that's the tree that holds the 9 realms together.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's more that it's a new. It's not so much holding the 9 realms together or the world tree, but it's the multiverse tree or something like
Right.
that.
Exactly. It's not it per se. That's what I'm saying. But
It
it's
resembles it. Yeah.
yes, it's an analog to that. It's analogous to that. And so here's Loki, king of the king. He's now King Loki because he has his crown on. He's sitting on a throne. Just what he said, what Tom Hiddleston said, full circle. The very thing he wanted, he got.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Lord Effman, um, you say it was perfect. I tend to agree with you, but can you tell me why it was perfect? Or you just want
I
to
think,
remain with those 3 words?
well, I think I'll expand on my earlier statement. I think sometimes as fans, we're just doing this whole thing wrong. I'm listening to this conversation. I look a lot at what goes on online, and when I hear people talk about what they got out of something or what they didn't get out of it, it always amounts to this kind of CSI investigation. Did X match up with Y? Did C line up with D? And we're all kind of watching it like we're going to be tested later. It's really becoming a rote sort of a game that just kind of has no emotion to it, right? When you're actually watching these things, and rather than try to see how you feel about something, or did this story expand your life or your consciousness, or did you get something larger out of it, rather than it just being sort of commodity level entertainment. I feel like we're really doing this wrong. And the reason I say this is because I have absolutely no desire to reconcile the details of the episode of Loki that I just saw. It was just that good. Following this hero's journey, which I will now say is the greatest hero's journey of the entire MCU, probably above Captain America's journey, which ends with him as an elderly soldier who decided to live his life out in Endgame. That was one of the most satisfying things you saw in the MCU, and this takes its place because it is just so rich thematically. I think just as a human story, once you put away the science mumbo jumbo and what's supposed to connect with what in the MCU, and how is this going to set up Kang's lunch so that we could see what he's going to eat in Chapter 5, I don't give a shit. I really don't. What this is a beautiful, moving story that functions on so many different levels. But for me, and again, the reason I know this is perfect is because you could take absolutely what you as a fan want to take away from this episode of Loki. And for me, there's just this huge mythic quality. It's again, I wrote this on the board, but it's very much like a Greek myth. You see a hero go through trials and tribulations. Sometimes that hero has hubris. Sometimes he's humbled by the things that happen to him during his journey. Sometimes he has to spend centuries learning quantum physics in order to continue his journey. But Loki's sort of coming into the realization of who he is as an individual, what his purpose is, what his glorious purpose is, was just done so masterfully. It's like Atlas deciding, I'm holding the sky up on my shoulders. It is my burden. It is my punishment. But at the same time, it's this awesome responsibility that allows everything else around it to sort of continue on. So Loki to me becomes this kind of allegorical source of life now. He's taken the technology of He Who Remains and Kang and whoever, right? Again, I don't give a fuck. The technology that those folks build for a loom to control branches, to cut this off and that, Loki has turned it into a beautiful tree, right? It's we've gone away from the technological view of trying to control things to inserting ourselves into it, like as something that's more about nature, and not the artificial. It was really wonderfully done, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get the image of the close up of Tom Hiddleston's face at the end of that episode, the close up that they do with King Loki, Room Loki, Storyteller Loki, I don't give a shit Loki, whatever you want to call him. He is Loki, and he's sitting on this multiversal throne, and he's about to go into like the Loki sleep, or to forever sit there and have to hold the multiverse together. It's I can't give this episode high enough praise, and I do think it was perfect because I don't feel the need to go and start a CSI investigation looking for the flaws. If they were there, so be it.
Okay, well, fair enough. Two follow-ups. Taylor was first. Of course, Taylor was first.
Yeah, as Lord Deathman was talking about the CSI analogy, it reminded me of the analogy I always use for this situation is if you stand 4 inches from an impressionist painting, you're going to say it's just a bunch of smudges. You have to stand back, take it all in, and just think about how you feel, not about all the little teeny pieces and parts of it. How does the overall thing affect you emotionally, and how does it make you feel? Second follow-up, whatever Kang is going to have for lunch next Wednesday, he's going to wash it down with some hot chocolate.
Yeah. My point would be that our review already came full circle because somebody said there was not enough pie and somebody didn't have shit. Well, if you have enough pie, you get enough shit at the end. Anyway, Lokismom, you also had a follow-up.
Yes, I did. Just kind of dovetailing or piggybacking on LDM what he said, which I beautiful. I totally agree with it. However, let's call it what it is. It's Norse myth. That's what it's based on, not Greek myth. And so when you kind of look at how Loki, the original Loki, that's what you want to call him, who quote unquote lived 1,000 years ago. Um, Very similar to our Loki, and our Loki. Uh, we're now telling new stories about Loki.
Taylor, one final follow-up before I move to Merv because Merv is itching to put his 2 cents in.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention I don't know if this was intended as an homage or not, but if you go back to the very first Thor comics in the 1960s, Loki's first appearance, I believe it was his first appearance, I might be off, but he was actually trapped in a tree that Odin had locked him inside a tree, and there was some magical thing about he couldn't get out until someone in Asgard shed a tear or something like that. And I just don't know if that was meant as an homage or not, but I think it's cool.
I think you just shocked Lord Deathman with comic knowledge.
Yeah, he got me right in the feels. I remember that, Taylor. That is an absolute gem of a find in terms of a reference, and you're absolutely right. And I choose to believe that is an homage.
Yeah.
Well, if I can jump in real quick, that's what Taylor is referring to. The shed the tear about the Loki, but however, the person that they would, if they could shed the tear and he would be unlocked from hell, is Baldar. And in the Norse myth, Loki plays a big part in Baldar's death, and is a big rigmarole and whatnot, and a lot of other gods get killed. And because Baldar did not die in a warrior's death, he does not get to go to Valhalla. He has to go to hell to Loki's daughter's domain. And everybody's crying in Asgard, "Oh, please, Odin, please, bring Baldar the Brave back to us. We love him so much." So Odin says, "Okay, if everybody in the realm will shed a tear for Baldar, I'll let him out of hell." But now there was one old hag of a woman who would not shed a tear, so therefore Odin couldn't let him out. And that old woman was Loki. Had shapeshifted into that woman, and so he sealed his fate in hell. Later on, Loki crashes into a party that all the gods are having. They're drinking and laughing and carrying on. But they didn't invite Loki. So Loki gets very jealous and he crashes the party. So he starts going off insulting everybody. He's putting everybody down. He's the first insult comic. And he's just he's telling it like it is. And they're just, shut up, sew up his lips, sew up his lip. He always has scars on his lips because he keeps getting his lips sewed up because he's such a big loudmouth. Anyway, they take him, they put him on some rocks, and they take the guts of his son and they bound him to that rock. And then they hang a snake over him that just drips poison onto his face, and he's in agony all the time. But it's causing earthquakes and storms and everything. So Odin says, "Oh my God, we got to." So he sends Loki's wife in with a bowl, and so she stands there and lets that poison drip into that bowl, and then, but she does have to let it out, pour it out. So during that time, he's writhing in pain, and that's causing earthquakes and volcanoes and everything to go off, and ice slides and the things that would go down in Norway, the glaciers and whatnot, causing all that stuff. So what's going to happen after Ragnarok? All that happens, or not after Ragnarok, but at Ragnarok, Loki will be unbound, and he will get into this huge fight with all the gods, and they're going to kill each other. The good news is Baldar is going to come back, and he's going to reestablish Asgard.
Okay. Interesting.
When that happens.
Yeah.
So Loki is bound right now, and there's a new Asgard coming.
Well, Merv, I hope you get your turn, but I have another follow-up from Lord Deathman.
Just a quick one. Just wanted to say that Taylor was referring to a comic book, which in which Loki was literally trapped in a tree uh, by Odin, and it is a take on the Greek myths in that did happen to another character in the ancient stories, but in the comic book Taylor's referring to, it was Loki who was trapped in the tree. So again, I do think the writers were probably reading the comic books, or at least that's what I'm going to choose to believe.
Well, with Marvel, they are going to read the comic books. Other companies have bigger trouble with doing that. But anyway, or showing that at least. Merv, now it's your turn, and please don't interrupt him for at least until he's done.
Okay, so the Legend of Thor. No, I love this episode. The way it starts in just the pacing was fantastic. The beginning, we'll call it it's almost broken into thirds, right? So the beginning third is kind of like the Groundhog Day of trying to fix the loom, trying to fix it faster, trying to fix it earlier, trying to bringing in Miss Minutes and the other lady to help out, and just all these little things, and we only see Loki acknowledge that like things are different, so it's hilarious whenever he's just like flying through the details and everyone's like, what do you mean again, like this time, like what are you talking about? I thought that was all great. And even the centuries later bit like all worked for me because that whole bit was just kind of that whole stretch, so it was just one thing after another. And then after that, centuries later, he's just like spieling out engineering jargon as if it's nothing, and you're just everyone around him's like, I didn't know you were such a whiz at this stuff, and he's like, and he's cutting people off and finishing their sentences for him, and I just thought it was all great. And then he wins, right? Except there's still like 40 minutes left or whatever, so we know that he doesn't win yet. And then it goes into the Sylvie part, which is a little darker because they kept saying over and over again, if you want to stop me, you're going to have to kill me. And that just brings out this idea of tragedy in this, that he's going to actually have to kill Sylvie in order to win or to stop this all from breaking down. So it moves from like the humor to now we get a little bit darker. And then after he realizes that, then the last third is him just kind of resolving and ascending, for lack of a better word, to this new role and this new position, and just exactly the kind of God he wants to be. And I just loved the story within this one episode alone and how it reflects on these two seasons of Loki in general, and then, this particular Loki, we know kind of his story up until at least the Avengers, and then it diverts and becomes this Loki TV series. So it's just been like, this was such a satisfying place for this character to end up for us as fans. I think for me as a fan, at least, like this felt like this is the way to win. You know what I mean? Like he finally got his glorious purpose, and he finally gets the love and adoration. You know what I mean? Like everything just works out. And that image, whenever he feeds life into all the little timelines, and then it turns and becomes the reminiscent of the tree from Norse mythology. Like I just loved that shot. I thought that shot was excellent. And then you get a little bit of a coda afterwards, seeing like where kind of people are and how the TVA is doing. And I don't really know what they're going to be up to. Maybe they'll do a spinoff. It'd be really nice to see like Mobius again at some point down the line, or at least touch base with characters like Sylvie, But if this might be the last time we see Tom Hiddleston's Loki, that wouldn't be the worst way to go out. You know what I mean? I kind of hope that we at least get flashes of him later on. It doesn't even have to be this Loki. Like if this Loki story's done and we still get like a Tom Hiddleston Loki that's on a different timeline, or Sylvie takes up that role, that'd be fine too. But as far as the Disney Plus Marvel TV shows go, this conclusion like put it right at the top for me. Like this is by far the best, especially ending to a MCU TV show that they've done yet. Like this ending was pitch perfect. This season was great, and I wasn't as high on the first season as a lot of other people were. But when you combine the two now, like it's just like the total package is well worth it. So yeah, I've got nothing but high praise. I like everyone's kind of touched on. It's taking a step back and seeing not the details, but like the total picture of this that really makes it that much greater, of a finale. So yeah, great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to applaud the panel for not interrupting Merv for at least 3 minutes. That's great. Um, okay, I'm just going to say it. Uh, Before we go to our rating, I want to know something from our panel members. Loki season 2, is it the best post Endgame? Go. Lokismom.
Yes, it
Okay.
absolutely is. And I have before we leave tonight, we don't have to do it now, but I got to tell you my personal Loki story. But yeah.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah, well, no, this one's really good, but I'll do it after we do this.
Okay. Taylor, Loki season 2, best post Endgame?
No.
Okay.
It's great, but it's not the best post Endgame.
Okay. Care to share what is the best post Endgame?
The best thing post Endgame.
If you now say Eternals, I have a TikTok video.
I actually like Eternals. Eternals is very good, but no, it's not the best. The best post Endgame is still WandaVision.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. Merv, your sound.
Not best post Endgame, but I'd say probably top 3 or 4.
Okay.
Easily.
Okay. Lord Deathman.
I am going to put it as my top post Endgame piece of MCU content.
Yeah, me too. I'm not. I already said it on the board, so it's not really a spoiler, but it's actually my favorite MCU content. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was pure brilliant. I did get what was going on, and I thought to me, Loki is the most important character in the MCU since he first appeared in Thor. Because without him, nothing in the Infinity Saga would have happened. And he now establishes himself as the most important character in the multiverse. Without him, the multiverse wouldn't exist. And the way they did that, I thought it was so excellent. I think it's the absolute best Marvel Studios has ever done. So don't come to me with post Endgame. The MCU sucks, because I think they did their best work since Endgame. And yeah, I also love Eternals, by the way. But anyway, it's time to do a rating. And I want a rating for the finale and for the whole show. And for some, it will be the same number, but I don't care. I want to hear 2 numbers. And I'll start with Lokismom, because why wouldn't I?
Yes, absolutely. And here comes my little personal story, and I'll make it quick. My great grandmother was born in 1880. She was from a Swiss German community that had came into North Carolina in the 18th century due to the gold rush. It was a very tight knit community. Whatever. She used to keep me when I was a young child before I started to school, and I was very mischievous, rambunctious. It was just hard. She would say, "Stop being Loki. Stop being Loki." And I thought Loki was like loco. I didn't. Okay, whatever. Years later, I would hear other relatives would talk about being called Loki or that word, and then I realized what she was referring to, and that was Loki the god, or the Loki the character. Now, how in the world would a woman born in 1880 know about Loki, other than it had came up through her culture, through the storytelling, and and it came to me. Oh, and my rating 9. and a 9.
9 and 9. Yeah. That's the most important part. But no, I love that story actually. And for those who don't know, German and Norse mythology are very closely linked.
Yes.
And Loki actually is also the same character god in German mythology as it is in Norse mythology. So I'm mostly familiar with German mythology because of my father telling me bedtime stories and using the opera stories from Richard Wagner. But anyway, that's how I got to meet Loki for the first time. But anyway, Lord Deathman, finale and show. Can I have your numbers?
Well, I don't think it would be a huge surprise to say for me that the episode was a perfect 10. Again, couldn't find anything wrong with it. Uh, yeah, the series is a little harder. I would say it only faltered for me, honestly, at the Victor Timely introduction. That episode seemed to meander just a little bit off course. And while I love what Jonathan Majors has done with He Who Remains this season, I'm sort of in the middle and on the fence about his Victor Timely character being maybe a little too close to slapstick. It's a fine line he was trying to straddle with that character, but that's going to knock a half a point over my season rating just right off of the show, making it a 9.5.
Still high marks, man. Still high marks. Taylor.
The series finale gets a 10 out of 10. The series as a whole gets a 9 out of 10 because I rated the series at the end of season 1 9 out of 10, and once a series is rated, it cannot be changed. Those are the rules.
Listen to the dogma, people. Listen to the dogma. And going to Merv now.
Well, first I want to grace you with I learned all my Viking lore from an 80s gem of a movie called Eric the Viking. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's fantastic. There's a character in that named Loki, I think. Really close to Loki. But anyway, this episode, easily a 10. It was one of the most enjoyable, I don't know how long it is, 1 hour, like episodes that I've ever seen in any show. And are we doing the season or the series?
The season.
This season, I'm gonna give it a 10 because these last 3 episodes, I think 4, 5, and 6, were just brilliant to watch back to back to back. Like they were fantastic. They made up for any shortcomings that might have been there in the first couple. So 10 out of 10.
Okay, I'm gonna give the season finale a 10 out of 10, simply because it was perfect for me. And I'm also gonna give the show or the season 2 a 10 out of 10. It would have been an 11, but yeah, there was not enough pie.
It's in there with Loki somewhere in the tree.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole automat was nothing but pie.
He's got all that pie in there.
It couldn't have been one little door with like some mac and cheese behind it. No, it was all pie.
But now you think of it, that automat with all those green lime pies, or whatever it's called in America, but anyway, all those doors and all those timelines they were also green at the end. Is there like how do you say a connection there? But anyway, before we get into too much CGI stuff, let's just call it quits.
Well, but hang on, did you notice? And Lord Deathman mentioned it. That smile on his face.
Yeah,
it's just a little smile, just a little curl of the lip.
Yeah,
the sneak is still in there somewhere.
He finally became or the god he always thought he was, and the god of stories, and I absolutely love that.
He's actually much more powerful than Odin, and Odin knew that.
Yeah, I don't need to see Tom Hiddleston's Loki again, and I don't want to open up that can of worms by any means, but I do hope they will hint at him a few times in the upcoming projects.
Speaking of green, it's how much green they can come up with.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Maybe that Deadpool will have a green suit.
Like Loki, I'm a cynic.
That will conclude this week's review of Champions for the season finale called Glorious Purpose of Season 2 of Loki. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. If you did, you can help us out by liking and sharing this review and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you really want more of us, you can join our forum at sakardo.freeforums.net. We would love it if you do that. For now, I want to thank you all, also on behalf of our champions, and wish you to be safe and be well. Bye.